Let me ask you this. If you, all right, say you have an issue and deal with, let's take anger, for instance. And if you're really paying attention, something irritates you. What do you do? Do you stop and or attempt to stop before you start getting pissed off about something? Do you pay attention to how you feel or what the thought process is that's helping to perpetuate that?
Taking that pause is so important to be self-aware, because what most of us do is, Lou, you made me angry.
They blame someone else for their
project it, and then don't own it. I'm feeling angry. Oh, okay. And then you can start to question yourself, kind of in the mode of, who is it that's, the question like Ramana Maharshi is, who is it that is angry? And you keep peeling away the layers, because usually the anger is a cover-up for fear.
So yeah, I understand that they're the two sides of the same coin.
Exactly, because always in life we're either going towards more union, or towards greater separation, towards clarity, or confusion. Once we go that route towards confusion, the next step after confusion is conflict. Yeah. After conflict, it leads to frustration. After frustration, you go into disappointment. After disappointment, you go into anger, and more anger, which leads you back into more confusion. And you can see this whole process instead of taking that moment to find that clarity. What is real? What is true? But it takes a big commitment, because most of us have been programmed not to think this way and not to engage a relationship with life this way.
Well, how do you educate people that aspire to have more love in their lives and eliminate anger? And again, anger falls into that category. If you want to get rid of the anger, the last thing you want to do is look at anger, because you're still, you go, I got to stop being angry. But, right then, you're indulging the anger in some shape, manner, or form.
Yeah.
So how do you teach people to change that?
Well, a lot of that's one-on-one. I also do talks once a month that on the second Tuesday of each month on different topics. So that's one of the ways, and a great deal of one-on-one, and coming into the community like we're doing here, making alliances with other like minds, like hearts.
Well, give us a practical thing that somebody could do if they're really attempting to overcome some sort of dysfunction.
Well, are you talking about more on a physical or emotional level?
Yeah.
No,
let's just say an emotional level for starters. Okay.
Well, that is going to be the next talk we're giving on September 11th is on depression. So have to identify.
What a great date to be given a talk
on depression, and it was all, we didn't even think about it. It was just happened to be the second Tuesday, and was the next topic in line.
9/11.
Really again finding out what is real and determining what it is underneath, what is actually causing that depression, because depression is a side effect. Symptoms are a side effect of something, so we always have to look at what is the underlying cause, because depression is usually an end stage burnout stage, because depression is low vitality, low energy, no motivation.
And at worst case, suicidal tendencies.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate. And usually it comes from being angry, disappointed. That whole step we said there wears us out. Most people are constantly in a state of defense. And physiologically, you can't be in defense and healing at the same time. You can flip-flop quickly, and yet the chemicals that are produced have a certain lifespan. So in an ideal situation, you'd have a 0 point. Let's say you start at 0. Mm-hmm. And you'd respond to a stress, it would resolve, and you'd have time to come back to 0. But what happens is we have a stress, and before that's resolved, we have another stress. And then you're in a chemical soup.
So like me reading the paper in the morning, pretty much.
Yeah.
Before I finish one stressful article, there's another
on
one
to the
waiting,
next one. That's why I always read the funny pages first. I want to laugh first. Then I go to the other stuff. And again, it's just, for me, when I'm educating people is, what do you want? What is it you really want? If that's making you happy to be miserable and upset and everything, go for it. So it comes down to a person's motivation. I can't make them change, but if they want to change, I can assist them by looking at their lifestyle choices, assessing their level of function at this time. Are they stuck in an emergency state? How is it manifesting? Is their diet producing an alkaline effect in their body? Is it producing an acid effect? There's all these type of things. It's very, to be in harmony with natural laws is a very simple thing. It's just not easy.
Well, yeah, because we have our minds working over time trying to mess up that balance.
Yeah, and the mind is a wonderful tool, but it's a terrible tyrant when it gets in the driver's seat because it pushes the heart, says, I've got control now. And, the mind can justify anything. It can justify any of this. What have been done in society in the last 20 years? The spin on everything.
Well, sure, and it's actually only taken about 100 years to pretty much get close to destroying the planet and the people on it.
Yeah.
With industry and technology and any of this other stuff. But people have to be willing to accept it, or, well, maybe it's a fear thing too, where they're afraid to oppose it.
Well, we're a funny species too. We want change in the long run, but we want stability in the short run.
We sure hand over a lot of control to strangers who don't really have any direct experience like our own. And one of the things that bugs me is, and where my anger and stress and stuff come from, I internalize all the stuff that's going on in the planet, and there certainly is plenty of it in the paper to irritate you with. But you look around and you go, gee, billions of dollars being thrown at a useless war. That's how many times does that have to happen before we figure that out? That's somebody's making a lot of dough off the suffering of people on the planet. But we could have a fabulous place. This could be a utopia. We could have an Eden here, and instead, we get a bunch of barbarians in fancy suits, sending kids off to die, or finding ways to, to GMO stuff or pollute things or whatever,
All those type of things.
So that said, what's your advice to somebody like me who's will stress out over things like that? I'm certainly doing as much as I personally can to make things better.
Sure, and feeling good about that. And the key in life for happiness, who was it? It was Krishnamurti said, the key to happiness is wanting what you have and not wanting what you don't have.
There you go with that simplification again.
I always like to keep things simple. I always bring it back to simple. So again, coming back to a simple question is, do I have any power to change this in this moment? If you don't, well then you can't get too upset about it.
Right, so you can change the way your response to an issue. You may not be able to change the issue.
But you can change the way you respond, because then by you becoming peaceful, you add to the peace. By being angry about a war, you're just contributing to the war, in a way inside you, because we're all constantly fighting, we're constantly defending. Can we drop and surrender?
Okay, well then, let's just say instead of dropping and surrendering, how about if we use like some of the stuff you were talking about, using laws of attraction
Absolutely.
Or the secret or what the bleep do we know? Do you think collectively, and I know this isn't really working real well for the Tibetans, but could we as a group hold a higher consciousness or a higher result to things?
We know it works. There's already been scientific studies that show the power of prayer and showing the change that happens. What did Gandhi say? Be the change you want to see?
Yeah.
So it comes down to each individual doing their part, coming together in groups and celebrating and continuing to expand that, because we can create that Eden. We can do that. And all it takes is a shift of consciousness, a shift of awareness, and a shift in priorities. Away from just the work, and money. Not that any of us wants to be poor, yet at the same time, to sell out your life just to make money, which so many people do.
No, they don't see any other choice. And also they turn over all the control of everything to profiteers, really, who don't seem to have a conscience.
Well, again, that's kind of like with Michael Moore's movie in Sicko.
Yeah, Sicko.
We were talking about that. It's about making a profit, not serving people. And reminds me of the story of the rabbi who wanted to prayed to God to have a demonstration of what the difference between heaven and hell was. So God finally granted that wish, and he said, "We'll go to hell first." And they went to hell, and it was this beautiful hall, lavish tables filled with food, decorated to the hilt, just beautiful and abundant food. But everybody was angry and emaciated, because as you look down, the utensils were all this long, and they couldn't feed each other. They couldn't get the food in. So the rabbi said, "Thank you, I understand." So they went to heaven. heaven looked exactly the same, but everybody was vibrant and healthy and happy. And the difference again was that they learned to feed each other. Because they couldn't feed themselves, but I could feed you and you could feed me. So learning to serve, that's where the true joy in life is, serving others.
You know, there's a good movie out called The Peaceful Warrior where they talk about
Excellent.
that. And that's actually a true story about a fella who was extremely arrogant, aspired to be part of the Olympic team and had a tragic accident, but brought himself back from that.
Yeah.
That was all part of it. Let's see, we got to wrap it up. Let me think. I have notes down here. Smoking bad, dark chocolate good, and pig and tomato genes.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So basically what I think we've learned from this talk is that considering the laws of attraction, we are really creating our own reality. So if we'd raise our consciousness a little bit and envision things being the way we'd like them to be rather than the way we think they are maybe, or in a negative vein, we might actually be able to make a good change in the planet.
Absolutely, and focusing on what we love.